Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm John, and today we're looking at the STACYC eDRIVE 16 brushless. The reason we're looking at this today is because I have reason to believe that the gearbox has failed on this bike. My son rides it very hard and aggressive, and it started to kind of have more and more gearbox and motor sound to it as he was riding. We noticed it. It's getting a little louder, seemed to be getting a little slower, and it was eating through batteries quicker than we felt it probably should. So all of that indicated to me that there was some sort of drag or resistance happening in the driveline. So I adjusted the chain. I checked the tension on the chain, and everything there was okay. So the chain was a little loose, so that's not really going to cause any resistance. So I tightened the chain up, and it didn't help. And then eventually it started clicking and making some unpleasant gearbox sounds. Go ahead. So I went on the STACYC website and submitted a warranty claim because we had bought this bike in December, and at the time of the problem it was January, so I believe it was well within its warranty, and within a day or so STACYC emailed back and said they were reviewing it. I told them I could add some video, the video that I'm going to show you here about it, and they didn't need it. And shortly after I got an email saying they were going to warranty it. It was the gearbox, and they gave me a really good explanation of how I could tell if it was a gearbox or not, and I'm going to read that to you right now. Word for word, it sounds like most likely there are damaged teeth in a 90-degree housing. I will have a replacement sent out to you. If your bike is overheating, popping fuses regularly, or making a grinding clicking sound, there is a chance that this could be mechanically induced by a broken gear in the 90-degree housing. To test the bike to see if there's a broken gear, simply roll the rear tire backwards by hand. If you notice the rear tire is extremely hard to move, or if it loses resistance temporarily before regaining it, then the bike likely experienced a broken gear. When this happens, the bike will experience a heavier than normal load on the motor and will become susceptible to having the fuse or motor fail. If throttle is applied while the bike is in the air, or the motor is able to spin up very rapidly to its peak RPM, when the rear tire lands from a jump, the spinning mass of the drivetrain will come to an abrupt stop and will run the risk of breaking one of the gears. Gearboxes are covered under warranty for 1 year from date of purchase. So that's exactly what we were experiencing. So I'll show you right now what they were talking about rolling the tire backwards. Okay, so it is hard to roll backwards, and it is not consistent. So I can roll it backwards and I feel it catch, and then that's what they're talking about being a broken gear. So luckily the gearboxes are warranted for 1 year. So we got our replacement gearbox, and that's what we're going to install today. We have a warranty sheet here. Just says 90-degree machined gearbox. I think that machined part is important because I'm not sure. There's two different varieties. I think the 90-degree machined gearbox is what comes standard in the brushless. So I think we're just getting a regular replacement here. I'm not sure if this is an upgrade or not. Nonetheless, this is what the warranty item was. So we look here, and just basically looking at a gearbox. So hopefully the stuff going on inside of here is good to go, and let's get this on the bike. Okay, so I have not done this before, but that's where we're gonna have to get, is inside there. That's where the gearbox is. Since I've not done this before, I can't really give an accurate step-by-step, but what I'm going to do is just perform the job, and I'll do a montage style of step-by-step, so I'm not wasting time trying to figure stuff out while I'm videoing. So let's get after it. Okay, so we're having a look at the two gearboxes. This is the gearbox that came out. And it spins freely, but it makes kind of a little noise. Doesn't click or anything. And here's the new gearbox that makes a noise as well, but just a little bit different of a noise. So you saw that I looked inside the planetary gears from the motor and greased them up a little bit. So hopefully that prolongs the lifespan of them, being a little bit more lubricated. And we're going to put this gearbox in, and hopefully the problem is with the gearbox and not with the internals of the motor. Okay, so we've completed the gearbox swap on the STACYC 16eDRIVE brushless. And I'm going to show you the difference. We know this is supposed to spin like that. It freewheels like a bicycle. But before, when we spun it against the engine resistance, it had a really bad gearbox sound. So when we do it now, it has the gearbox sound, but it's not clicking and it's not fighting me like it did before. So it does seem like there is definitely something wrong with the 90-degree gearbox that was in there, like STACYC predicted. And now it spins way better. So we're going to throw the battery in it and we're going to give it a little test spin. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope it helped you along the way if you have to do this job yourself. There's no instruction manual for this or manuals that I can find online to give instruction on how to do this. So I was basically just feeling my way through it. There might be easier ways. I might have done it a harder way, but that's the way I figured out and that's how I worked through it. So hopefully the way I did it helps you out. Hopefully it's the right way. Regardless, I think a lot of people will be having to do this on their STACYCs. Unfortunately, it seems like the weak link. I follow some STACYC groups on Facebook, and it's a very common problem for the gearboxes to go out. So unfortunately, this might be something that we have to do more than once, which is unfortunate because they're very expensive little bikes and toys to some. Like my boy, he rides Pee-wee 50, a CRF 50, and even a Cobra. So the STACYC bike is just basically a toy for him. He's already ascended to the world of motocross and has been for a while. So the STACYC was just kind of like a fun thing for the backyard and for when we go to the races. So it's unfortunate because it's an $800+ bike, and if it's going to break gearboxes because it lands with the wheels spinning, then that's not something you can really explain too well to a 6-year-old, unfortunately. So I think we're going to be fixing these quite often. So anyways, now that I've worked through it, I understand what it takes. It's not hard, but it's time consuming and it can be tricky in certain parts. So my tips are going to be use a flat blade screwdriver for disconnecting the gearbox from the motor. You're probably going to round out those Phillips head bits if you don't have the right size. A small flat blade and then a bigger flat blade for the long bolts that go from the motor case to the transmission or the gearbox case. Bigger blade screwdriver for those. Other than that, I would say take special caution to not route any wires the wrong way. When you take the motor away from its spot, just make sure that you don't break one of the tabs that's soldered onto the motor for the wires. Watch out for just twisting stuff too hard. So it's basically electronics. There's a speed control in there and a capacitor and the battery terminals. So while not fragile, the tabs on it could get broken if twisted enough. So just take caution when you're working with the wires. And really, to me, the hardest part of this job was to get the plastic clamshell back together the right way. It took me 4 or 5 different on and off sessions to get that thing snapped in like it should be. So definitely start with the sprocket side first and get the speed control seated in there. Hopefully I showed that enough in the camera views that I had, my limited views. So because it was on the bench and I couldn't really get the backside too good. So hopefully you saw what I'm talking about. And that to me was the hardest part. But other than that, bike seems to be running good. It's a loud gearbox in general, so it doesn't sound smooth. It sounds loud and it sounds kind of aggressive, and that's to me just how this bike is. It's a pretty high powered little battery bike for its size, so the components in it are meant to be lightweight and also try to be strong too. Sometimes those two things don't really mix together. So we're going to try it out. My son was absolutely destroyed when he knew the bike was not working like it should and he possibly broke it. So I'm really excited to get it back to him, and I want him to enjoy it. I don't want him to deal with things that he might be afraid are broken. Maybe he's afraid that he broke it, and the bike's pretty important to him. So I just want him to have fun with it. So hopefully this gets us back on the track, the backyard track that is. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you enjoy motorcycles, small bore specifically, Honda specifically, kids go-kart racing, STACYC stuff, vintage motocross, I do a lot of that. So check out my channel. Maybe you'll enjoy some of my other content. If you like it, give me a subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks again.